Have you ever noticed how loud the world can feel, even when it is quiet? Even in the stillness of the night, there is a kind of noise that presses against your mind. It is not the sound of voices or steps, but something softer, something that feels like a weight on your thoughts. Failures, mistakes, small regrets. They whisper in the corners of your heart. You try to ignore them, but still they find a way to speak. And yet, there is a voice beneath all of that, a voice that does not demand, that does not shout, but simply waits. Have you heard it? It is a strange thing the way life teaches us through its gentle failures. Sometimes it is not in the moments of triumph that we learn, but in the quiet spaces where nothing seems to happen at all. You may have stumbled, tripped over choices that now feel heavy in your chest. And as you sit with these moments, the world outside moves on. They move on. And yet here you are listening. What is it that makes you linger in this silence when you could be running, chasing, fixing what seems broken? Perhaps it is because deep down there is something waiting for you in this stillness, something you will not find in the noise. And so you sit, you feel the tension of your own thoughts. Perhaps there is a sense of embarrassment or of shame. Perhaps a soft, quiet anger at how things unfolded. But notice how these feelings come and go when you do not speak them, when you do not act on them immediately. They are like ripples on a pond, and the pond does not chase them. It simply holds them. You too can hold them. Do you remember the first time you realized that silence could be a companion? Not the lonely silence of being forgotten, but the kind that listens to you, that watches over you without judgment. There is a subtle comfort in letting the world wait for a moment while you simply breathe. It is not weakness. It is not emptiness. It is a kind of quiet courage, the willingness to feel without needing to act right away. And as you sit there, you begin to notice the small things. The rhythm of your own breathing, the way your chest rises and falls, the soft echo of memories you thought had faded. Perhaps there is a faint smile at something you once thought was lost, or perhaps a tear slips down silently, unannounced, and it feels heavier because it is yours alone. In this space, you do not need approval. You do not need explanation. You only need to notice. It is in these moments that you begin to understand something that cannot be taught with words. You are not the failures that whisper to you. You are not the missteps, the awkward attempts, the quiet disappointments. They are shadows that pass across your mind. You, the one who sits and listens, are something more, something steady, something that can bear the weight of what has happened without breaking under it. And the strange thing is that this strength does not make itself known in triumph. It shows itself in the patience of your own heart, in the gentle decision to remain calm when everything seems to demand your voice. Sometimes, when you are sitting quietly, you may hear the faintest echo of them, those whispers from the outside world that remind you of what went wrong. And yet you find that your mind can simply acknowledge them, without letting them stir panic or resentment. They are there, but you are not swept away. There is a small power in this. A quiet power, almost invisible, like the roots of a tree that hold firm beneath the soil while storms rage above. You may not notice it at first, you may not feel it fully, but it is there, slowly building with each moment you do not react, each moment you simply sit and breathe and observe. And so, the first lesson of the whisper in the storm is this, that silence is not absence. Silence is a presence. It is the space where your mind can grow calm, where your heart can rest, where the small truths about yourself, the truths that are often drowned out by noise, can finally be heard. You may feel fear, you may feel doubt. But even in that quiet discomfort, there is a strange kind of peace. A peace that begins with simply noticing, simply sitting, simply allowing yourself to be where you are, without judgment, without rush, without expectation. And perhaps if you listen closely enough, you will begin to hear it more clearly. The soft, steady voice beneath the failures, beneath the mistakes, beneath all that whispers from the outside. It is the voice that has always been there, waiting for you to stop running, waiting for you to pause, waiting for you to realize that even in silence, you are not empty. You are not weak. You are learning slowly, quietly, and the first step is simply to sit with yourself and listen. The storm will pass. They will move on. But you remain quietly listening. And in that listening, the first threads of strength begin to weave themselves through your mind, through your heart, in ways you may not yet understand. It is here, in this stillness, that something quietly extraordinary begins to take root. Have you ever felt the quiet weight of being misunderstood? Not in a way that makes noise, not in a way that demands attention, but in the soft, lingering way that makes you question yourself. They watch you, perhaps judging without knowing. Perhaps they speak, and their words do not reach you, or they reach you in a way that twists, reshapes, and leaves you feeling unseen. And yet, in the stillness of your own heart, you know the truth. Do they really matter, or is it simply the sound of the world pressing in, asking you to justify what you already know? It is strange, the feeling of being misread. Sometimes it comes from things you have done or failed to do. Sometimes it comes from nothing at all, like a shadow cast by the light of someone else's misunderstanding. You may feel a tightness in your chest, a flutter of unrest in your stomach. You may want to explain yourself, to stretch out your hands and show them the truth they cannot see. And yet, in the quiet hours, you notice that explanations do not always find their place. Words fall short. They do not carry the weight of what you feel inside. And so you sit with it. You let the discomfort settle beside you. It is not pleasant, and yet there is a strange clarity in facing it without rushing to fix it. You notice the rhythm of your own breathing. You notice the small rise and fall of your chest, the way your thoughts move in circles and then drift like leaves on water. You realize that being misunderstood does not take away from your own inner truth. It only asks you to hold it more gently, to let it exist quietly without needing their recognition. Do you remember a time when someone looked at you and saw only a fragment, a shadow, a version of yourself they created in their mind? It can hurt. The sting is subtle, lingering. You might feel the urge to argue, to correct, to set things right. But what if that urge is not yours to act upon? What if the act of holding yourself steady, the act of observing without reacting, is where the real strength lies? And sometimes, in this stillness, a deeper understanding begins to take shape. You realize that their misunderstanding is not yours to carry. It is not a burden you must bear with anger or sorrow. It is like a passing cloud in a wide, open sky, present, yes, but not permanent. It drifts, it changes, and the sky, your own heart, remains. There is a certain loneliness in this, and yet it is not the loneliness of emptiness. It is a quiet, reflective space where you begin to know yourself more clearly. You notice the subtle ways your body responds to being watched, the quiet self-consciousness that rises and falls like gentle waves. And as you sit with it, you also notice the moments of grace, the small flickers of understanding that only come when you are still. You begin to see that being misunderstood is not a reflection of your worth. It is merely the difference between the world as it sees you and the world as you are. Do you feel the tension between what is inside you and what others perceive? It can be uncomfortable, almost like holding your breath for too long. But notice the stillness that emerges when you stop trying to force understanding. Notice the calm that comes when you allow yourself to simply be, without explanation, without proof, without needing to align with their gaze. There is a soft power in this silence, a quiet sovereignty over your own mind. And in this space you begin to feel a subtle shift. The sharp edges of discomfort dull. The quiet judgment of others loses its grip. You notice how your own thoughts, when observed without reaction, become lighter, freer, more spacious. You begin to see that you are not the sum of what they see. You are something broader, something more enduring, something that cannot be fully captured by a fleeting glance or a half-understood word. You may still feel the sting, softly, sometimes sharply, but it no longer dictates your actions. You carry yourself with a quiet dignity, not because you are unfeeling, but because you understand that your calm is stronger than any misunderstanding. The stillness inside you becomes a shield, a quiet sanctuary where no one's misjudgment can reach. And in this place, you find a kind of freedom, a freedom to exist as you are, to honor your own truth, and to know that it is enough even when others cannot see it. And so you sit there quietly observing, breathing, feeling the tension and letting it pass like water around a stone. You do not react. You do not argue. You do not chase recognition. And in that soft refusal to be drawn into what they believe, you begin to touch something rare and profound, the gentle, unshakable strength of knowing yourself even when the world does not. It is in this quiet understanding, in this calm acceptance of being misread, that the first seeds of inner power are sown. Have you noticed how often the world seems to invite you to react? A sharp word, a careless glance, a small injustice, and the heart begins to stir. You feel the pulse quicken, the mind whispering, urging you to answer, to defend, to make things right. And yet, in the quiet moments when you are truly still, you begin to sense a different way, a way that does not call for noise or force, but for a steady, gentle presence. What would it feel like, you wonder, to simply let the moment be, without stepping into it with anger or fear? There is a subtle courage in not reacting. It is not loud. It does not announce itself. It is not measured in victories or applause. It is the quiet strength of someone who watches the world's stirrings and chooses to remain calm. At first, it may feel strange. You may feel the tension building, a restless energy that wants release. You may feel the urge to speak, to prove, to move. But if you breathe and pause, if you allow yourself to notice the rising tide without acting on it, you begin to feel something shift inside. Do you remember the last time you held your tongue when the world expected you to speak? Perhaps it was a small moment, a fleeting glance, a word left unsaid. And yet, in that silence, there was a sense of power. Not the power of control over others, but the power over yourself. The power to decide how you will let the world affect you. The power to remain centered, steady, unshaken by the winds that rush past. And it is not always easy. The mind may argue. It may remind you of justice, of right and wrong, of all the ways you could respond. But notice how each thought, each impulse can be observed without needing to act. Like a river flowing past a stone, the energy moves around you and you remain unmoved at the center. There is a strange clarity that comes when you resist the pull to react, a quiet wisdom that begins to whisper that you are not the events themselves, but the one who watches them. It is in this gentle watching that self-respect begins to grow. You do not need their approval. You do not need their understanding. You do not even need to be seen. Your dignity is preserved in the simple choice to remain calm, to remain present, to hold your own space. And as you practice this, as you notice each rising tide of emotion and allow it to pass without chasing it, you begin to feel a subtle transformation. The world's noise grows softer, or perhaps you simply hear it differently. It no longer dictates the rhythm of your heart. And sometimes, in the quiet of your own presence, you notice that the world may still try to provoke, to challenge, to unsettle you, and yet you find that you can let it pass. You can observe the gestures, the words, the actions, without carrying them into your own heart. They are like shadows on a wall, real enough to notice, but without power over the solid ground beneath your feet. There is a strange relief in this, a freedom that is almost invisible but profoundly felt. Do you feel the difference between reacting and not reacting? Reacting often carries a storm within it, It moves outward, seeking resolution, seeking acknowledgement, seeking justice. Not reacting carries a different kind of storm, one that is held quietly, inwardly, reshaping itself into something calm and measured. It is not suppression, nor is it avoidance. It is a deliberate, mindful allowance of life to unfold while remaining steady at the center. And in this steadiness, you begin to recognize a power that is rarely spoken of, a power that does not need validation. It is the power of choice, the choice to meet life's challenges without letting them disturb the essence of who you are. You begin to feel the strength of restraint, the quiet authority of someone who does not need to defend themselves to be whole. There is no fear in this, no trembling, only a calm presence that watches, that breathes, that allows the world to be without being pulled into its turbulence. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you notice a shift in how you carry yourself. The heart that once leapt at every slight now moves with a soft rhythm. The mind that once raced to answer now rests in its own quiet space. And in this gentle, unassuming power you find something remarkable. The awareness that the world's chaos cannot touch the stillness within you. It is here, in this quiet choice not to react, that inner freedom begins to bloom, unseen but profoundly felt, a quiet mastery of the self that no external force can take away. And now, as you sit quietly, you may notice a gentle calm settling around you. The storms that once felt urgent, the noise that once pressed against your chest, begin to soften. You are alone, and yet not lonely. There is a presence here, within you, that has always been. A steady, quiet companion that watches, that breathes, that holds space for all that you are. Can you feel it? The soft rhythm of your own heart, the slow rise and fall of your chest, the quiet knowing that even in stillness you are complete. It is here, in this stillness, that you begin to see your own reflection clearly, not in a mirror, not in the eyes of others, but in the gentle awareness of your own mind. All that is past, failures, misunderstandings, impulses to react, no longer feel heavy. They are like leaves that have fallen and drifted downstream. You can remember them, you can observe them, but they no longer bind you. You are free, in a soft, unassuming way, to simply be. And as you breathe, you may feel a subtle shift in your posture, in the way your shoulders release, in the way your chest opens. There is a softness in the body that mirrors the quiet in the mind. You realize that the world does not need your immediate answers, that their judgments do not define your worth, that their misunderstandings cannot reach the center of who you are. You are a calm presence in a moving world, a stillness that cannot be rushed or shaken. Have you noticed how peaceful it feels to simply observe life without the need to claim it, to shape it, to argue with it? The small irritations that once seemed so loud now pass quietly, like clouds drifting over a wide sky, and you feel the gentle expansion of space within yourself, the freedom to let things be as they are. There is no need to explain, there is no need to respond. There is only the soft, abiding presence of your own consciousness, steady and untroubled. And in this quiet, a kind of understanding begins to grow. You see the failures that once pressed upon you not as burdens, but as teachers. Each misstep, each moment of discomfort, each shadow of doubt now feels like a small guide pointing you gently toward a deeper awareness of yourself. And as you look inward, you notice that your respect for yourself does not come from the world, nor from anyone's recognition. It comes from simply holding yourself with care, from honoring the space you occupy, from choosing calm when everything outside seems restless. Can you feel the soft power of restraint? The subtle mastery that comes not from action or words, but from quiet observation and inner discipline. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to claim victory over anyone or anything. The victories are private, held within the calmness of your own mind, the quiet steadiness of your own heart. And in this private space, a strength grows that cannot be measured, that cannot be taken away, that does not depend on circumstance or approval. And perhaps the most gentle realization of all comes when you notice how small your fears now feel. The anger that once rose quickly, the impatience that once tugged at your chest, the need for recognition, all of it softens. You feel the deep relief of being untangled from expectation. You are no longer drawn by every ripple in the water. You are anchored not by the world, but by your own quiet presence. And in this anchoring, there is a deep, unspoken peace, a steady warmth that rests in your chest and radiates outward, even if no one else can see it. And as you sit, still and calm, you may notice a gentle smile forming without effort. Not at anything in particular, not at a thought or a memory, but simply at the feeling of being here, fully and quietly, in your own company. There is a softness in the heart that comes from knowing you can be at peace with yourself, that the world's noise does not disturb the depth of your being. This is the quiet mastery of the self. This is the gentle power of restraint. This is the inner calm that no passing moment can diminish. And so, in this quiet, you rest. You rest in the knowledge that failures are lessons, misunderstandings are reflections of others, and reactions are optional. You rest in the awareness that silence is not emptiness, but presence. You rest in the gentle power of simply being, fully, quietly, and without need for recognition. And in this rest, there is a peace so complete that it seems to stretch beyond time, beyond words, beyond anything you thought you needed. You are here. You are whole. And that is enough.